Welcome to Aether United Interviews, where we have interviews with people within the blockchain as well as various esports. I'm your host, Ryan Cheng, and today we are joined by Adam Isles. Adam Isles has been a research and development consultant as well as the head coach for Mobalytics since its early company days. Mobalytics is a program that analyzes the performance of esports players. Through their analysis, they offer insight through the Mobalytics database to pinpoint areas for players to improve on. We called him in today to talk about the growth of the esports scene and what his thoughts are on our project, Aether United. Welcome, Adam, to the interview. How are you today?
Pretty good. And yourself?
I'm pretty good, too. Just came back from a hard day at work. Yeah.
All right.
And so jumping into questions, I would like to ask you if you had any updated numbers of players and fans in the major leagues for esports.
Yeah, sure. So one of the numbers that I have is basically during the World Championships last year, the highest amount of people that watched at the same time, so unique viewers, was actually 14 million people for the World Championship finals.
Nice. And how does that compare to like traditional sports, or is it
so
up to par?
It's much higher actually. So being Canadian, of course, I watch hockey in the NHL finals. Their max viewership for unique people was only 4 million.
4 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Huge difference, yeah.
And could this be because esports is also worldwide, so you have also international fans as well?
Right. So the reason for it is, of course, worldwide, and the same reason why soccer, or for Europeans, football, is so popular. It's all due to accessibility, right? Hockey, it's not an accessible sport for most of the world because you need ice, you need skates, you need equipment. Soccer is different. Right, soccer, all you need to do is a ball, and that could be literally anything: a rock, a shirt, if you actually have a ball, right? And you can make nets out of anything, so it's very accessible. Esports is the same way. All you need is a computer, and a lot of people have that nowadays.
Right. And why do you think the esports fan base is growing so quickly?
A lot of it has to do with, let's take a sport like basketball, right? At birth, you're inherently given an advantage if you're tall for basketball, right? Esports is not the same way. Anyone can participate in any of the esports that they like, right? Anyone can just, for League of Legends, for example, like it's free, you pop in, you play. There are people who are blind. There are people with, any kind of disabilities that can also play it. So a lot of it has to do with not having a physical restraint to it. Makes it, again, accessibility will create popularity.
Right. And, you put your time into it, your skill into it, you improve your skill, and that's how you get better, right? And do you think there's anything special about the demographic besides being, open?
The only thing that's particularly special about the demographic is it started off as, of course, I guess millennials or people between, male 16 to maybe like 30. But recently, the demographic is actually much different. For example, actually, there's kind of a funny statistic that the Korean LOL scene, I think it's like 50-50 split between males and females for the live, like when they watch it live. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's actually, that's great.
Yeah. And as the older generation of gamers comes in, it means that, now you have people who are in their 40s who are watching esports and watching it with their kids, and, their kids are growing up watching it as well. And so it's not something that just had a really, really small age and sex, kind of demographic. Now it's widening and expanding to being more kind of widely accepted.
And do you think esports will grow to be something like traditional sports where, people of all ages watch, all sexes, etc.?
Yeah, I really believe it will, because like I said, it's something that's going to be even more accessible than the most traditional sport, which again, soccer/football.
Right.
And so I have no doubts that they will become extremely, extremely popular.
Right. Sounds good. And do you want to go into a little bit about how Mobalytics, or your company, works?
Sure.
What it does for esports?
So basically what Mobalytics does for esports is it's an analytics company, but it takes a little step further. So there's a lot of different analytics companies. They'll tell you your stats, how many kills you get, when you're dying, how much you're winning, stuff like that.
Right.
Mobalytics takes it a step further and will actually analyze those statistics for you and give you advice on how to improve. So it doesn't just tell you that you're dying. It's going to tell you, it tells you why you're dying and how to stop that from happening.
Right.
By giving you actual advice or showing you videos and stuff like that. So that's what it does. So what it's doing is it's creating a platform for people to improve at their favorite sport/hobby.
And so that's how it's assisting the growth of the esports ecosystem by improving, right? By improving the skill of players. That's okay.
Improving the skill of players, yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. And so as you know, we're heading into a new concept of esports brand where the fans are at the center of the project, right? And have a clear voice in making decisions for the business. And how do you think this will influence the esports scene?
I think it'll be very interesting, actually. It could very well shake up things. For example, when Riot first introduced fantasy League of Legends, a lot of people became very invested in the teams because now, they had, bragging rights with their friends and things like that. So now a similar effect could happen with a type of team like this, where the fans are now extremely invested in the team. And so they're going to be closely watching the games. Your numbers will go up and maybe other people may start copying this, and then it'll create like strong rivalries like you see in football/soccer, between Manchester United and Arsenal, and you could really get some really big things like that.
And you think this is healthy for esports? This will help improve esports as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's pretty healthy. It's run identically to how a normal company would, right? You buy in, you get put on the board, you get help make decisions. So I don't see why it would be unhealthy. If anything, it might add a little bit of professionalism to some of the lower ranking organizations that seem to kind of fall through occasionally.
Right. Sounds good. How big do you think the impact of a truly crowd power esport brand such as Aether United will be in the future?
I think it'll actually depend on how successful the team is. If the team does well, right? No, like if the actual team does well, then there will be copycats and it will explode. It should create a decent ripple in the esports environment. Now, of course, if the team doesn't perform, then people may think of the concept as a little bit of a joke and a gimmick, right? So it all kind of has to do with how well the team does. But if it does do well, then I definitely see other people giving it a shot.
So do you believe that if our team is successful, do you think a majority of the teams now would change this sort of, not play style, but managing style for a company, for an esports team?
The kind of top end won't, I believe, because they're kind of like an old boys club and they're looking to franchise and stuff like that. But I believe some of the teams that would be kind of at the lower end that would start off, because that's where kind of League of Legends is going at the very least. They're going to start franchising. Some of the teams that will just start franchising at kind of the lower end, they may consider trying that as well.
And besides League of Legends, is Mobalytics interested in helping any other esports game?
Yeah, so we're focused on League of Legends right now, but we will be expanding to things like Overwatch, not in the near future, but that's our plan. We don't plan on sticking with League of Legends. We want to move to Overwatch. We want to move to CSGO and things like that. But we got to perfect the actual platform first.
Right, I see. And you think that this crowd-powered system, this brand, will be able to go to different games, such as
For
CSGO?
sure. Yeah, there's no reason it shouldn't be able to.
Sounds good. And last question for you. Looking at the esport ecosystem now, what are you most excited for, going forward in next year or the future?
Yeah, what I'm really looking forward to is, of course, the franchising of the teams. I think will be really interesting, as well as potentially the start of maybe like online academies, online universities for people to actually, because basically there's kind of college sports, right? Where people can kind of go to university, play a college ball or whatever, and then move up to professional team. I'm really looking forward to when that eventually happens for esports.
Hasn't that started out in certain colleges?
It started with a little bit. They're very low tier and they're not very low tier, but they're kind of lower tier. I'm looking for it to become like a full, like they have leagues for it, of course, but I'm looking for when people eventually actually start drafting from those. Because right now it's more of a place where kind of people who are attending school but are still really good League of Legends players, they play, right? But they're not getting drafted into the pro scene. I'm waiting for when they turn that collegiate esports into a drafting area.
Right. And from looking at now, there's only a certain amount of teams that get put into like MSI, mid-season invitationals, and the finals. Do you think that number will expand? And how do you think games would, or like League of Legends games would expand with it? How do you think that would work?
I'm not sure. I think that there won't be too many extra teams or anything like that. I believe that it's with the franchising system, they're going to stick to a set number of teams for now, and maybe when things blow up a little bit more, then they might increase that. But for now, I think at least for League of Legends, what they want to do is they just want to stabilize that franchising system first, and then see where to go next. So I don't think there'll be anything too drastic besides that, because it's already a very big shift in the sports scene. I think it would be the first time franchising would ever happen in any game.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our interview. Thank you for joining us. And to the viewers out there, if you would like to check out Adam or Mobalytics, we'll have the links below. Also, anything for contact Aether United, our Facebook, our Twitter, all in the links below. So thank you for joining us. And thank you, Adam, for answering my questions.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I think that's basically it. Thank you, guys.